Have you ever wondered what it would be like to just hit reset on civilization? I mean, not just make a few changes, but completely redesign it from the ground up. Well, today we're going to explore a really detailed blueprint that imagines exactly that. The author calls it Civilization 3.0. So let's dive in and see what's inside. A new heaven and a new earth. That's the promise right at the beginning of this blueprint. Yeah, right off the bat, you can tell we are not talking about small adjustments here. This is a proposal for a total transformation, one that's aiming for a kind of utopian existence for every single person. This quote really sets the stage for the incredible scale of the ideas we're about to get into. All right, so what is Civilization 3.0, really? Before we get into all of the nuts and bolts, let's just stick with the big picture for a minute. What's the ultimate goal of this entire thing? Okay, now what's so fascinating here is how this vision blends these really spiritual ideas with high-tech concepts. On one hand, it's called the Kingdom of God, but on the other, it's run by a combination of artificial intelligence and, well, very wise human leaders. The core promises are huge: a completely restored natural world and a society where universal happiness isn't just an aspiration, it's the default setting. Okay, so that's the dream, right? The big vision. But how would any of this actually work? Well, the blueprint lays out 18 core principles that are supposed to be the actual foundation for this new world. Let's get into the specifics. This is where you can really see the scale of the proposed shift. On the left, you've got our world today. On the right, Civilization 3.0. Just think about this for a second. Governance isn't done by separate countries, but by one single global AI. Money is completely gone, replaced by an AI that just shares resources. And all our laws? They're replaced by a totally new ethical framework. This isn't just reform, it's a complete teardown of our most basic structures. And the changes go even deeper. No more armies, no more nukes. All political parties are just gone. But check this out, because this one little detail shows you just how radical we're talking. Even personal celebrations, things like birthdays, are canceled. The idea is to shift the focus completely away from the individual and onto the collective good in the natural world. All right, now hold on, because this next one is maybe the most radical social idea in the whole blueprint. It's called the Second Home Program, and it's designed to completely replace the institutions of marriage and the nuclear family. And the stated goal? To liberate human nature from those traditional bonds, supposedly to help it evolve into something more divine. This really gets into rethinking our most personal relationships. So, you might be wondering, what do people actually do all day in this world? This slide gives us a pretty clear answer. The AI handles all the big picture thinking, all the planning, all the logistics, all the spreadsheets. And that leaves humans to focus on two main things: the actual physical work of growing food and the creative work, arts, science, and culture. It's a very clear line in the sand between machine logic and human hands-on creation. A vision this massive, it brings up a huge question: how on earth could you make this happen? The author doesn't call for a revolution or anything like that. Instead, the whole strategy is explained with this really powerful metaphor: how to melt an ice age. And that's the central challenge, isn't it? I mean, how do you pull off such a complete overhaul of society without some kind of conflict or forcing people to go along? Well, the source text actually anticipates this and offers a very different path forward. And this is the answer it gives. The strategy isn't to shatter the old system with force, but to gently melt it away. This whole metaphor of a warm spring wind is absolutely key to understanding the theory of change here. The whole idea is to influence, not to impose. So here's how that whole metaphor plays out. The thick ice, well, that's us. It's our current way of thinking, all our established beliefs and systems. And the warm wind? That's just the idea of Civilization 3.0 itself, this very document. So the strategy is purely informational. Just spread this blueprint until everybody knows about it. The belief is that once the idea is out there, the old systems will just dissolve, no fight necessary. So, okay, that sounds nice and gentle, but what about the people who, like the ice? What happens to anyone who just doesn't want to be a part of this new world? Well, the blueprint has a very specific plan for them too. The solution proposed in this text is pretty wild. It's to designate the entire continent of Australia as what's called a lawless land, basically a place that exists outside the rules of Civilization 3.0. And there, anyone who prefers the old ways of money and power and all that can just go live as they choose. And the text is super clear about the rules here, really doubling down on that non-coercive idea. The move is completely voluntary. Anyone can go, and they can come back whenever they want. The whole arrangement is designed to last only until, eventually, no one wants to stay there anymore, until everyone has voluntarily chosen the new way of life. So after all that, this massive, complex vision, where do you even start? Well, the text boils it all down to one single, crucial first step. That's it. 1. The entire plan, this whole global transformation, apparently hinges on getting this one single action right. And here's what it is. The first and most important job is simply to spread the message. It all comes back to that spring wind metaphor, doesn't it? The primary work isn't to build anything or to protest anything, but simply to communicate the idea itself, to make sure it reaches every single person on the planet. And to wrap things up, the text leaves us with this one final, pretty profound thought. To actually succeed and be happy in this new world, it's not about your skills or how much wealth you used to have. The critical requirement is an internal one, what the author calls the purification of one's soul. This inner state is presented as the only real way to live in harmony with the AI and the new world it manages. When you really look at a blueprint like this, one that basically hands the keys to the planet over to an AI in the hopes of creating a perfect world, it makes you ask some really big questions, doesn't it? It challenges how we think about freedom and family and what progress even means. It really leaves us with this final thought to chew on. What does this kind of vision reveal about our hopes and fears for technology, and what we might be willing to become in the search for a perfect society?